Hello, beautiful stars. Courtney here with Stars of the Morning Light, and this is an episode of Hey You. Hey You, Hey You, Hey You. The reason I'm recording this is I was going to pick up and start doing the Akashic monthly messages again, at least for the collective. But I still am not feeling the need to do that. I really was trying to talk myself into it. Um, because I know there are some people out there that enjoy that. It's hard for me to talk myself into giving messages in such a way because I don't think it makes much of a difference. And I know that sounds odd. I know there's people out there that like to know, I have some intel as to what is coming, what is being presented, whatnot. But it doesn't really make a difference, as in, people we're creating it. So what does it matter what the Akashic says? Like nothing matters what they say. We're we are creating. So it's hard for me to get into that zone because why deliver a message when nothing changes, right? Why um release messages in any way, shape, or form? I don't care if it's the Akashic, if it's Gabriel, like I was trying to do for a moment. It doesn't really make a difference. It doesn't. Um, as far as everyone acknowledging that what you're experiencing, what we're witnessing, what we're going through, what have you, is of our own creation. There is no outside forces. There are no outside forces, right, that are creating what we're experiencing right now. It's all within, right? So it's hard for me to, I don't know, get the motivation to do so. It's just hard. So I decided to do this instead. So let's get into it. Let's see where I start and see where I end, and don't really matter which way it goes, right? That is one of my mottos. If people don't know that about me, um, one of my mottos, and I've had this motto since my early 20s. So at least 20 years, at least. And it's like a foundational motto of myself. Uh, it's you do what you can when you can, and you don't worry about which way it flows. That's what I do. That's what I do. There you go. Like, period, amen. I've been doing it for 20 years. I do what I can when I can, and I don't worry about which way it flows. Because why? Why would I? That, so, anyways, um, so I figured I'd do this. You can adopt that motto. It's very good. It's nice. You end up, serving yourself and others without the weirdness of obligation, demand, right? Responsibility, jargon. You do what you can when you can, and you don't worry about which way it flows. So you don't worry about the repercussions. You don't worry about if this is going to work. You don't worry about, did I help enough? You just do what you can when you can, and don't worry about it when it's all done and said. You know. Anyways, it's one of my foundational mottos. So I guess, and it's really good on able to establish boundaries through that as well. Because if you can't, you say no. It's that easy. You just say no. No, I can't. Or I'll get to it when I can. Right? I mean, anyways. Anyways, there you go. That's for all of you. Hey, you. Hey, you. Oh, learn the power of no. No is so awesome. Um, I was thinking this morning in relation to what I just said, as in the, kind of what's the point of doing Akashic messages when I have yet to witness ever in I don't know, human history, uh, that we that things change, right? And so I was thinking about that aspect of, geez, we're, we we all are insane apparently. You know, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. I think it's because of how this operating system is designed. The matrix, as you will, right? Let's just use the term matrix loosely, right? Nobody knows what the term matrix is. And everybody's got a different take. It's very interesting. It's wherever probably they are in their mind space at that given time when they do an interview. You can check out the playlist. It's below in the description, Matrix Living. Um, and it's good. I mean, we don't need to have a clear definition of the operating system here. We don't. But one of the key things to life here, Earth, universe, cosmos, whatever we want to say, right? Is that it's a self regenerating system, right? We regenerate. This is where reincarnation even comes into play. We regenerate. And I think that's the thing. Is because this is designed, so third dimensional living experience, fifth dimensional living experience is set, it takes place, it's set, right? Within the matrix system that is attached to the regeneration, right? We regenerate within this system. Seven is that kind of it's that borderland that you're here in a body of form, operating with everybody else, but yet you're capable of bringing in other aspects, right? All the quantum physics that for some reason people don't create that into their own aspect of manifesting and out overriding the operating system that we're used to. Let's go back to that. Sorry. So I have a feeling that, nothing changes because nothing changes, and we are at the ending and the beginning, the beginning and ending, right? Because they kind of happen simultaneously, give or take your idea of years. Ending and beginning, beginning and ending. Nothing really changes. As many of the viewers here know that, I mean, some of you might believe that we've done this 4 times. Some of you might believe that we've done this 7 times, right? Of the ending and the beginning of cycles of human, well, basically existence. Why is that? Imagine if you're a person out there that does believe we've done this 7 times. We have destroyed ourselves and destroyed the planet and basically killed pretty much everybody off 7 times. That's a lot of times, folks. That's a lot of times considering like the millenniums that have to happen in between, right? That's a lot. Why do we just keep doing that? Why do we just keep doing that? And I think it's one of the major significant factors in the why, in answering that question, the why. Why do we just keep doing this? Um, is the regenerating aspect. Um, as in, because we are bound to that in third dimension, fifth dimensional living, because we're kind of bound by that law of regenerating. Well, think about it that way. That means that regenerating is also just recycling. It's just doing the same thing over and over again. So we make our homes, we have our kids, we die, we come back, we make our homes, we have our kids, we go to the 9 to 5, we create innovations. Come on, folks. Model T Ford, Not that big of an innovation. All the innovations of now, not that big. But yeah, to us, mind boggling. Wow, innovative, right? As if we haven't done all this before. As if we haven't experienced all this before. It's the regeneration aspect to this operating system that I think is one of the biggest benefactors as to why we don't change what we're doing. And this is regardless of the forgetfulness, regardless of the forgetfulness. Because I mean, you can look at it in the micro and the macro. Within the cycle of, yep, just keep repeat, repeat. But that is because on the large scale, this matrix operating system, that is a huge component as to the survival, as to the longevity, as to how this works. This is why I will always say that it is good. It is very good to study hermetics and wrap your head around hermetics, because those are components to how this system does work. They're components, and they're very big components to it. So it is wise to wrap your head around hermetics. But I then also, and I've said this for years, those who have been here for a while know this, that they are still limiting. They are the limiting scene sets, right? They are the limiting contributors to third and fifth dimensional living. And what happens within the regenerated system and that repeat is because we don't really acknowledge anything different. And because the scope of outside of that is so huge, we tend to not delve into that concept of regeneration to get back to that kernel, that very small first thought of creation. So that's why I kind of laugh at the innovation aspect. We're not innovating anything because we're not getting back to that actual first thought of creation. We're just doing some different form of regeneration. So I bring this up in respect to, what does it matter what the Akashic says? Well, I mean, seriously, what does it matter when we literally are going to end up doing the same thing over and over again until we emphasize and believe that we can step out of this regeneration, this recycling, this loop, beginning and ending, ending and beginning. So I was talking with Brad, my husband Brad, the other day. I think it was Sunday. And by the way, I'm recording this February 24th of 2026. That's so much is happening in the world that we are creating based on, because we don't know how to step outside of it and do something completely different. Okay. So I was talking with my husband on Sunday and about a bunch of stuff. And he was kind of letting me go off on a rant, which, bless my husband, right? Y'all can't even imagine the rants that go on in this house. But we were talking about many different things. And at one point, I brought up that, if someone asked me what was my religion, what is my faith, and I'm talking about myself personally, right? I would have to tell them that my faith, my belief, and I don't want to really use the word religion. That means organized and all sorts of hierarchy and whatnot. But just my faith and belief. I said, if somebody were to ask me that, what do I have full faith and belief in? I said I would say all is energy. And I would say that's why I focus much more on physics than any kind of, I don't know, other woo woo stuff. I just don't, folks. That's not who I am. Do as you wish. I focus more on physics. And I said because physics is the blueprint and the how to manual of what I have faith and belief in. And my husband then said that physics can't be a faith. Physics can't be a, it can't be a, you can't believe in physics. He said because, and this is what happens in the house, folks. My husband said, because just on its face, physics requires evidence. When the definition of faith and belief is that of the unseen, like without evidence. And he said, so that you can't you can't believe, you can't have faith in something that requires evidence. And that it's only there due to the evidence, right? And I went, whoa, what? I went, yes, that's actually how this works. This is how this works. I said, the two are one and the same for me. The physics is the manual, the how. How do you operate within this system that everything that you believe becomes seen? How do you feed 5,000 people with 2 fish? Really, folks? Simply physics. How do you walk on water? Really, folks? Simply physics. And they still have some ways to go, in my humble opinion, about physics. But what we know of now could bring in the evidence of your faith, of your belief. And I'm sorry I speak of myself in that context. So all is energy. It's what I believe in. It's what I have faith in. My how-to manual is the physics of how do I have the unseen become seen. We call those miracles. We call those manifestations. And isn't that what people believe in? We believe in the masters who walked around using the same tools. We believe in the quote-unquote those who are connected to God using the same tools. And so through this conversation, and I said, I don't understand why we're not doing that. We have it. We have the tools. We have the toolkit right there. I mean, we know enough now to not just understand and operate within the 3 and 5 based on hermetics and physics, but not only that, but to break out of the trap of it, to free ourselves of the limitations that are set. And one of those limitations is very much the regeneration aspect here. That we just regenerate. Now, it's like I said, it's there for what has been our survival. But yet it's also been our downfall. Because it holds on to the limitations. Right? So the conversation then went more into the aspect of those who limit themselves. I mean, take the great master, the Christ consciousness. He was in many, many ways just using physics. Centuries later, they called it magic. Before that, they called it all sorts of stuff, right? Even centuries before that, some would call it magic. It's been under a lot of names. It really has been under a lot of names. It's just energy. Plain and simple. It's just energy. Which you have great authority to use. But why do we limit ourselves? So going back to the Christ consciousness, he repeatedly asked people if they believed, if they believed, and then he would say things, gosh, if you only had faith of a mustard seed. And so I'm talking to my husband. And I said, that's what I don't understand is that we have these amazing tools that are presented to us. I mean, if you really dive deep into physics, instantaneous. You can change this body, you can change everything. And we were kind of having this conversation based on prior Patreon classes that I was doing with my students on all his energy. And one of the ongoing questions, thought patterns of the students was, okay, I understand, like, this is a table. Like, they would touch the table and they would say, I understand this is a table. I also understand that in theory, that this is mutable. That, it's this table can become anything I would like it to be. It's mutable. And then they would say, but when I accidentally bump into the table, it hurts. Why is that? And beloveds, the simplest answer to the, okay, even if we understand things in theory, why are we not utilizing them? Why are we not actually using them to change? The simplest answer to that, as to why can't we move past theory, is the belief. Because at some point, somewhere, someone told you that you were separate of. You are separate from. You are separate from the Godhead. You're separate from all the physics that's naturally around. You're separate from your peers. You're separate from human. You are the greatest creature on the earth. You're, higher than, separate from nature. Someone, at some point, said you are separate from all this. Now put that separation concept into that regeneration. Whoa. And now we have millenniums. We have thousands and thousands of years of people limiting themselves because separation infiltrated the regeneration. So many out there will say, well, I know there is no separation. I mean, we know there's no separation. Back to that concept of theory. Back to that concept of we can wrap our heads around that in theory. We can wrap our heads around that even in love, right? Even when we look upon our fellow man, when we look upon nature. Then why is nothing changing? It's because we can't get past the actual theory. We say we know this, but knowledge without experience, knowledge that is not applied, if you don't apply it and experience it, it means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. It means nothing. What's the point of knowing how to make a birthday cake if you ain't got nobody in your life to celebrate birthday with? It means nothing. It means nothing, right? So, and I'm being cute there. Of course, Make a birthday cake for yourself, right? Treat yourself. All of this is because of the operating matrix system of the three and the five. And three is, it is endowed, it is full of judgment and doubt. And it is the land of judgment. Some refer to it as the land of death. If there wasn't judgment, there'd be no death. So it's the land of judgment, it's the land of doubt, what have you. And in so many ways, it's self to self. And it's that doubt as to why Peter didn't walk on water. It's that doubt when he says, I don't feel like feeding all these people, all these people. You do it. Damn, I've been showing you, you do it. You do it. And then they're like, but we can't. Just show us one more time. Prove it to us one more time. Instead of laying down the doubt, releasing the judgment of self, and doing it. And so it is fascinating to me, and I think it's because of this separation got into the cycle of regeneration over and over and over again. Over and over and over again. So we only do what we know because it's safe. We only do what we know because it's guaranteed. We only innovate what we've already innovated. We only do what has been done. There has not been a new creation out of, because you can, because all of the tools and techniques and all of the information as to how you can, the physics of it, is right there presented, but there hasn't been a single one. I'm speaking for myself. This is, my goal by 2028, which, by 2028, is completely something new. Right? Creating form out of the formless. Creating form out of the formless. Which, if you were here for that Casey video last week or whatever, it was talking about different ways that humans were created. Well, beloveds, that's just creating form out of the formless. Some of them, right? When we have the know-how right now, to create form out of the formless, it is the doubt and judgment of self that blocks us from even doing so. Hence, I know this is just it's a table, it's mutable, it can change into whatever, it's fluid because it's energy. But why do when I bump into it, I get a bruise? Because you're actually still thinking that it's a table. And the only reason you're still thinking it's a table is because we've been thinking it's a table for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. With just small pockets of people that did differently. So the reason why I say we gotta study hermetics, the dog came to stop me. The reason why I say study hermetics is because it's always good to know the training manual of wherever you're at, whatever you're working with, whatever you're doing, which is basically the training manual here. Read it, understand it, learn how to operate through this even more smoother with that manual in 3 and 5. So then you can actually move outside of that while laying down the doubt, laying down the judgment of self to start bringing in what others call magic, miracles, creation, multiplying 2 fish. I just want to put that out there, folks, because that's the reason why it's hard for me to do Akashic readings, because what's the point? And I'm not picking on anybody here. I'm not in any, but sincerely, we know enough now that what our minds focus on, we not only attract, but we also are creating. What we see, what we hear, what we speak, all the energies released and received. We're wise enough to know it, but we're not wise enough to do anything with it. It's fascinating to me. And the only thing I can come up with is the limiting self judgment, self doubt. When we are limitless beings, humans were never intended to. They were just never intended to limit themselves. Not from the origin of their being, right? The origin. Now, have we known any different? No. So that's why I don't know when I'll get back to doing messages, because I'd rather witness people creating, people acknowledging that they're creating, and then using that power and gift and tools to change themselves, change the scope around them. Because the Akashic, the Akashic is really just, for me, I call it like the 0 point of creation. The Gnostics really would refer to it as the virgin waters. And virgin just means pure there, right? Which is what all this stuff was created out of, right? Um, Everybody wants to call it like this big database in the sky. I don't really refer to it that way, because the term database would be as if there's some kind of limitations to it, right? When this is the 0 point of creation, the field of energy that all infinite potentialities spring forth, right? This is, beloveds, this is why the Christ consciousness talks so much about the living waters. The living waters of all of your infinite potentialities that you can just pull into this sphere that we live in, that you're capable. Bring them to your heart, right? You're capable. All the infinite potentialities, because all is energy anyways, and you are a grand master of energy. My goodness. That's the point of the living waters. And a lot of the references is that he's talking about the Akashic. It's so they're, the reason why it's like messages, whatever, because they're not deciding what is going to happen, what's not going to happen, what's this, what's that. They can give predicted, well, the trajectory of the collective right now is this. If they tweak themselves just a little bit, it'd be this. If this were to happen here, it'd be this. It's just a bunch of potentialities that we are pulling in, creating, designing, moving, mixing, shifting. Everybody talks about the timeline shifts. It's just potentials. It's not, you haven't really shifted. You're still here. You're still here, third dimensional living and or fifth dimensional living. But has fairly new or multiple varieties of potentialities come into your plane of attachment? Yeah, probably. Everybody talks about these shifting timelines as if we're not just energy fields, right? Like this earth, me, all of us, nothing is fixed anyways. So what the hell are we using the word shift for? Sorry. I'm sorry. I did not mean that. No, I didn't mean what I said. I just didn't mean to kind of yell at y'all. Sorry. I can't stand the word shift. I really can't. Because it would have to mean that it was fixed in the first place. You shift the lines on a track, right? On like think of a train going down. Okay, well we got to actually use this shift to move the motion, to move the path of the train, right? We got to use this shift to move this. We got to move this shift when nothing is actually fixed in the first place. So why do we use this flippin' word shift? That's my rant. Do as you want with it, but it does drive me crazy. I'm not gonna lie. It's always, and I try to be cool, calm, and collected, especially if I'm talking with others, because they're all gonna use that just to have common dialogue and whatnot. But the more we use these words, the more, well, things do become fixed. And then we actually have to put effort out into making some grand shift when that's not what's going on. It could be so very simple to, okay, I understand physics, but there we go back to the judgment and doubt of who we are. See, even when we give the power to the word like shift, that's giving power to something outside of us that must have shifted it. Because I didn't do anything to shift it. But man, I feel a shift. Who did it? Who did it? Why are we giving power over to something else still? It's mind-boggling to me. It is mind-boggling to me that we still are giving our power over to something else. And then living through the tragedies that we witness in today's world. And then if something shifts in the energy, right? Shift. We think it's from somewhere else, or something else did it, or the cosmos did it, or a Godhead did it. What? What? Like logic doesn't even fit inside of that. Sorry. That I got very passionate about there because I have spent the past few years going along with this damn word shift, and I can't stand it, honestly. I can't stand it because that represents that something was fixed. That represents that your life was fixed, my life was fixed, this earth was fixed. But now it's shifted. When everything's happening simultaneous, past, present, future is all right now. All right now. It requires new eyes and new ears, new mouth, new of you to acknowledge it and roll with it and not worry about which way it flows to even, but once again, release the self-doubt. Yeah, past, present, future is all happening right now. And the only reason, now ever became a thing, right? That this concept of now ever became a thing is, in my humble opinion, is it was teaching people mindfulness, which is beautiful. Mindfulness. Be in the now. Now. Mindfulness. But the now is the same as to be, mindfulness, presence. Now. It's all the same thing, right? So how can you be in the now and still be talking about a shift? So, anyways, that's why I struggle with getting messages out there, because, yep, I don't see the actual point in it. You could take this as a message, y'all. Hey, y'all. Hey, you. Hey, you. Yeah, that's one more thing on kind of on the same airs as I was just talking. I'm not sure if people to be able to get to that kernel of creation, it does take how should I say it? It does take not just belief and faith, but untainted belief and faith, right? Because even our concept of faith and belief has gotten distorted. So it needs to have some purity to it. Untainted faith and belief that you can walk on water, that you can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want, right? You can experience the presence of complete bliss and peace within the now, past, present, and future, which then amplifies out to others as frequency, right? You can experience that, but it does take more untainted belief and faith, because even those concepts, like I said, that has become very organized, very hierarchy, very, and this is why I'm so uh, I'm kind of strict. That's what I should use, just the name. I should just use the word strict in my delivery, often as in trying to emphasize we are not ants. I have so many conversations with people that they refer to themselves as less than the gods, less than the angels, less than whomever, less than their boss, I don't know, whomever. This system of hierarchy that has also entered into faith and belief. Like, you're not able to have any form of connection to the energy that is present unless you're using some outside influence force. That's wild and radical in what it did to the human psyche, right? So it would take a bit of an ounce of pure faith and belief that is not in any relation to what it's been associated with forever, right? For a very long time. For a very, very long time. And so what I want to talk to about, like, that concept of pure. So you have the concept of pure, um, and I'm not sure if people know, so I'm sharing it, that the concept of purity, pure, is vastly much more associated and attached to the action of willingness, the verb of willingness. See, most people don't even think willingness as a verb. Willingness is not much anything if there's no action. Willingness is a verb. It is a verb. Same as courage is pretty much a verb as well. We take it as in we feel it, right? We have thoughts about it and we feel it. But those are just thoughts and feelings. Willingness shows up as an action. Courage shows up as an action. Pure is more attached to willingness than I do think people are aware of. So if you just have the willingness to start laying down the self-judgments, the self-doubt, if you have just the willingness to, I don't know, play with physics, if you have just the willingness to not limit yourself, if you have the willingness to understand you're not an ant, if you have the willingness to really truly lay down any thoughts that are separation, right? The separation even goes into the concept of now, past, future, as if those are all separated and not right now. It's because we've been drowning in this concept of separation within the regenerating system. So if you can just give yourself some willingness, just, which is action, right? Which is action. The more that we can do that, the more our authentic, pure, human design, human way, human makeup, bodies of form, holding beautiful sparks. These bodies, our minds, everything can actually become those channels that everybody talks about. It can actually become more like our true design. And it does take the washing of that stuff away, which is backed up by the action of willingness. And that usually takes a little bit of faith and belief. Not even trust, because how can you trust something you haven't seen yet? But it takes a little faith and belief of, I'm going to try this. I'm going to see if I experience this, what's going to happen. Without any expectations, without any fears or judgments, because expectation is still a judgment, right? Just, I'm going to see what happens. I'm going to roll with it. And what's lovely about that is I think a lot of people are practicing compassion here at Stars of the Morning Light, and that's beautiful. But continue compassion for self and others. But I want to invite everyone to continue to practice the compassion, and compassion is also an action, right? Action with self and others, compassion. But compassion's a choice. It's a choice. And there's a thing that is ever present, it's just present. It's not even a thought. And that is grace. Grace is always. It's always. It doesn't require us to give someone grace. It doesn't require us to give ourselves grace. It doesn't require for us to even think about grace. Grace is ever present. It is just presence. It is ever present. The only thing that we have to do is to acknowledge it. It is ever present. It's not even a thought. You don't think to give somebody grace. It just is. You don't offer grace. It just is. You don't experience grace. It just is. The only difference is if we acknowledge it or not. So as you start laying the self-judgment down, as you say, okay, I'm going to turn my willingness, I'm going to believe, I'm going to turn into it, I'm going to do some action, I'm going to start purifying my mind of all of this separation and regenerating hoopla that keeps us in crazy ass cycles. I'm going to start laying that down based on my willingness, which will create more purity within me, this body of form, mind, body, soul, all of it. And then with that, I know that grace is ever present. So why would I worry about which way it flows? Grace is always present. It's not even a thought. Should we acknowledge it? Yeah. And the only reason we gotta acknowledge it is to truly know that it is always present. So, that was a long talk to tell you. I don't know when I'm gonna start doing messages again. I might never. I don't know. Y'all, it's up to you. You, hey you. You wanna go? You don't like what you see? You don't like what you hear? Change it. Change it. It's that simple. Change it. Live differently. Live differently. Know that you can. Trust that you can. And acknowledge that the grace is always present for you to do so. It's awesome. It's not even a thought. It's just present. It is that presence that I bet everybody would like to attain. All right. Love you, folks. Cheers. Do what you want with it. I'm out. I love you guys. You're doing great. Bye, folks.